welcome to Rising. We have a stellar show for you today. Hello, Briahna.
Hello, and happy birthday to you, Robby.
Thank you very much.
The big 3-5. Any big plans for the day?
None whatsoever. For viewers at home, if you remembering my birthday is very easy. It's 8/8/88.
That's more 8s than our problem. So good job.
yeah. And if you put a 14 next, no, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole yet again. What are we talking about on our show?
Well, Robby, a Biden impeachment inquiry by House Republicans is a foregone conclusion, according to CNN. Oversight Committee leadership and Kevin McCarthy are eyeing this fall to bring potential charges against Joe Biden, making him only the 4th president to face impeachment. CNN reports that Republicans feel pressure to move quickly. They believe if they don't bring charges soon, it will appear Biden has been cleared of all wrongdoing.
Last week, former President Trump earned the raucous approval of one of his rally audiences when he suggested any Republicans not on board with Biden's impeachment should be primaried.
They sit back and they say, they have other priorities. We have to look at other things. Any Republican that doesn't act on Democrat fraud should be immediately primaried and get out. And we have some. You know, you show them the fact, 10 million here, 10 million there, this came in, that came in, that came in. Oh, that's too bad. But we have to worry about other things. You don't have to worry about other things. You got to stop it. You got to stop it. They play a different game. These people are corrupt as hell, and they play a different game. They play a much tougher game of hardball, and the Republicans have to play like these 2 guys and these 3 people, actually 4 people that we have. They have to play tough. And they have to be, and honestly, and if they're not willing to do it, we got a lot of good, tough Republicans around that people are going to run against them and people are going to win, and they're going to get my endorsement every single time, and they're going to win because we win almost every race when we endorse.
Meanwhile, freshman Representative Anna Paulina Luna told Fox News that she believes Republicans in the Senate are actually stonewalling a possible Biden impeachment inquiry.
We have evidence that we're bringing forward. The American people deserve answers. We're being stonewalled. This guy's sitting in the White House selling access to countries that don't like the United States. And mind you, all of the Democrats that accused Republicans of being Russia collusion sympathizers, you have the president's son working with Russian oligarchs, personally enriching their families, and yet we're just supposed to sit here and be quiet? I'm done, Jesse. I want this guy to be impeached. I've seen enough.
Earlier this summer, when asked about impeachment, a Biden administration spokesperson said, quote, now House Republicans are channeling their frustrated energy into a measured and purposeful urge to impeach someone, somewhere, for something. We're sure they'll figure that one out, and this time it'll work wonders, just like their pursuit of manufactured conspiracy theories about the president for the past 4 years.
Okay, so there is something a little bit to that final statement insofar as there has been a lot of confusion about what is they're actually going to impeach Biden for. About a month ago, the focus was on his border policies. There was already this desire to impeach Mayorkas over open borders, all of that sort of rhetoric. And the idea was to impeach Biden for similar crimes, not protecting the borders of the United States of America, et cetera. And frankly, there were a lot of Republicans that were opposed to it. The Republican caucus was divided largely because they didn't quite know if that was going to be the thing that really landed a punch. Now it seems like there's a pivot toward the Hunter Biden influence peddling scandal for obvious reasons. That's what's captured the public imagination right now. And it does seem a lot more proximate to what Biden's actions are as a human being, as opposed to a broader indictment of what people feel like are Democratic policy. Exactly.
Yes, and I think we need to let the Hunter Biden matter be investigated more thoroughly before we're at the point of impeaching Joe Biden for it. I think we've learned a lot more about it that is concerning to us, including all the calls that Joe Biden participated in as Veep with Hunter Biden and business associates that seem totally, by the way, just completely conflicting with what Biden and his administration has said was his knowledge of Hunter Biden's business dealings. That was zero. That's what they said. So I think, unlike just disagreeing with Biden's policies. I disagree with the vaccine mandate he declared as president for millions and millions of workers. I disagree with that policy as strongly or more strongly than I've ever felt about anything a president has done. He did it. He was overruled by the Supreme Court. That was the right way to carry that out. I don't think, and I would say the same thing for Trump. Honestly, I would say the same thing for Obama and George Bush and Bill Clinton. Just disliking their policies. I mean, at the end of the day, you have to vote these people out of office and replace them with political figures you like better. I so disagree with Joe Biden's policies. Maybe the Hunter Biden thing is verging into impeachment territory, but just always impeaching the president, which is the road I think we're going to get to, where as soon as you have divided government, the other side impeach the person in charge. You can absolutely make the case that Democrats started this with the Ukraine matter, even much more so than the January 6th matter, the election stuff, where I said on the show I think there was good cause for impeachment and removal. The Ukraine issue being murkier, and now maybe even looking more murkier now in hindsight, given Joe Biden having said things about that now look suspect. So that's a long way of saying I think it would be great to reserve impeachment for things that go beyond, I disagree with the policies of the administration, or I'm part of the other party, and this is sports or entertainment at this point,
but
which is where we're getting to.
That point about the Democrats starting it, I think, is the important one. They know that they don't have the votes in the Senate to actually successfully impeach the president. So if this is going to be simply a performative matter, why not use an actual impeachment to focus the conversation as we head into an election year when, of course, Donald Trump is facing 3 different indictments and has been impeached already. And I do think that there is something strategically potentially valuable about Republicans being able to point to something that seems a little bit more meaty than retreading some of the Hunter Biden stuff, especially if there is a stall on new information coming out. I mean, right now there isn't. We just had the testimony from the Hunter Biden associate who gave us this, I think, kind of explosive new information where he corroborated that for at least 20 calls, Joe Biden had been present on the line with these business associates, completely destroying the argument he's been making that he has no knowledge of his son's business dealings. So they can keep writing stuff like that. But if we get to a point where there's no real new flow of information, an impeachment inquiry does keep the story very newsworthy in a way that will be inconvenient to Democrats as they try to paint Trump as the criminal candidate and Biden as the good guy.
Yes. What did you make of Trump's comments there about primarying every Republican who is not fully on board with impeachment? Again, this seems kind of self-defeating for the Republican Party because, not every district in the country is as red as Texas or Florida or something. There are a lot of, fewer every year, but there are moderate Republicans. There are Republicans in districts and municipalities that Biden won. And this is what happened last time, that Trump MAGA people took out a lot of those figures in primaries, and then they went on to lose because they're more right-wing than the district allows. And this is becoming a really self-defeating thing for Republicans, that they've gotten a lot less savvy about running candidates that are not so conservative or not so Trumpy in the right areas.
I think it depends on if your interest is in preserving the Republican Party or if your interest is in preserving what you feel like are the ideals that should be what the Republican Party is all about. I look at this from the perspective of a leftist, where I absolutely wish we had a leader that was perceived to be a populist party leader, the way that Trump is perceived to be, who was willing to put his energy and his support behind people in his caucus that shared his ideological priors, the Freedom Caucus. He, because of these kinds of moves, has emboldened and created this cohort of people within Congress who have extracted meaningful gains for their sector of the Republican caucus, and without whom we would not be having this conversation about the impeachment inquiry in the first place, in all likelihood.
But Trump doesn't force, I hear you, but Trump doesn't force Republicans to hold the line on policy, because Trump is incredibly flexible on policy. He forces them to hold the line on performative things like an impeachment inquiry, or saying that he actually won the election. He doesn't say, for instance, the pro-life cause is a super important Republican cause, and we should primary people who don't hold the line on that.
Because he's smart enough to know that's what's really killed Republicans, I think, not Trumpism, but the fact that they overturned Roe, and that's why they lost midterms. But I'm not a Republican for that reason. So yeah, they're unprincipled. I'll sit here all day and night and tell you that it's all vibes. They're not working for working people. That's why their policy commitments are so flimsy, et cetera, et cetera. As a leftist, I wish, obviously, if the roles were reversed, we would be fighting hard. We would be toeing the line on things like Medicare for all, a $15 minimum wage, things like that. But given, just from a structural perspective, in terms of what their interests are, I think that he's doing exactly what he needs to do to advance his own interests. And saying and doing things like that is exactly why he has such a grip on the Republican Party, and why even the half dozen people who are running against him cannot directly go against him if they don't want to be in a Chris Christie place in the polls at less than 1%.
Right, but he's causing this problem. And what's in his best interest is not necessarily what's in the best interest of the Republican Party or what Republican voters want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is what the left has been arguing about for a long time now. Democrats want the left to be in line to support Democrats.
Right.
If you don't vote for us, the Democratic Party is going to lose. Leftists say we have our own agenda, and we are willing to have that outcome happen.
But it's a policy agenda, so I understand it because it's a policy agenda. Trump is doing the equivalent of that, but not for a policy agenda.
I think that's a distinction without a difference. His agenda is his agenda. I'm not going to argue that it has merit because I don't think it does. But the point of the matter is emboldening a minority caucus to fight for you is strategically advantageous. His ability to even be a front runner right now and have no one take any direct shots is only because individually people know that he's willing to risk it all and come after them, even if it means it hurts the Republican Party as a whole. That's where his power comes from, that he's a bull in a china shop.
Well, right, no disagreement with that analysis. I just think that's Republican leaders and organizers have to reckon a little bit more with how that gets in the way of achieving anything the Republicans say that they want.
Well, they can try to convince Trump of it, or they can just beat him fair and square in an election, but that's a tall task.
I suppose it is. More Rising right after this.